scores and headlines of the sports world. SportsLook lets you meet the biggest names. The cover stories. Off the field, one-to-one, they're relaxed, revealing, and candid. The host of SportsLook, Roy Firestone, award-winning journalist, named in Sports Illustrated the best interviewer in the business. With Stu Black, the investigative reporter with accurate information. Howard Rosenberg, winner of a Pulitzer Prize for his television and media coverage. Alan Rothenberg, covering the legal and economic aspects of the sports world. SportsLook is brought to you by Mazda, makers of the new generation RX-7, the 626, the 323, and the B2000 trucks. The more you look, the more you like Mazda value. Your SportsLook host, Roy Firestone.
What do you mean that the Raiders have to hope 4 teams lose for them to get a wild card shot in the playoffs? I mean, whatever happened to the big, tough Hells Angels of pro football? I mean, the Raiders never had to hope anybody lost for them to get into the playoffs. The Raiders never lost guys for 2 games because of sprained ankles or pulled hamstrings. It was yank it off, Doc. I'm going into the trenches. The Raider players used to cry that. Well, I'm afraid to say that the John Waynes of the AFC West have turned into the John Ritters. You see, Freddie Bolitnikoff remembers the good old days, a pound of Stickum, a couple of 6-packs, and it was 6 points. Freddie B, the Super Bowl 11 MVP, a man who relied more on slick than speed, on guile rather than grace. Today, Fred Bolitnikoff, nearly 600 career receptions, nearly 9,000 yards, 76 touchdowns, and no Hall of Fame induction. On the Raiders today and yesterday, and why Freddie is not in the Hall of Fame. Later, Ernie Kaufman on the big final week of the NFL regular season, and there are a lot of big games with a great deal at stake. But first, here's Freddie V, Freddie Bolitnikoff. What happened to the Raiders? A former Raider has to be up in arms over this issue.
Well, I just think that it's just come down to the point in the organization's thinking where, you know, are the right people out there playing? You know, you have to have a type of attitude to go out there and play and be able to win.
Have they lost that attitude, the old Raider attitude?
Well, I think defensively they still have the type of attitude that you know, you look back in the past, the same attitude is still going today. But I think that offensively, you have to be a different type of person offensively to go out on the field. You have to be a completely different person to go out there and want to win.
I have never seen a guy who had the game in control, like Marcus Allen against the Philadelphia Eagles, turn the ball over and turn the whole season around on one play that we remember, that turnover that was returned to set up the final touchdown. Was this the turning point of the season, that fumble in overtime against the Eagles?
Well, I don't know if it was exactly the turning point in the season. You know, obviously this game really did hurt him and changed the season around for him towards the end. But I think you go down to other games in the season and feel that, you know, there were a lot of other places where they should have won and they didn't, and it maybe shouldn't have come down to this point with Philadelphia and Marcus's fumble. Shouldn't have even really made a difference in the season with them.
We are hearing now rumors that Marcus is on the trading block, that Al Davis is fed up with the 8 or 10 fumbles that Marcus coughed up this year. They want to trade him to Tampa Bay with maybe Jesse Hester, maybe a #1 pick, try to get Vinny Testaverde. If you were Al Davis, would you pull off that move?
Oh, I don't know. I just think that, you know, you have somebody like Marcus and, you know, he's one of a kind. You know, he can come out of the backfield, he can block, he can run, he can make a lot of big plays. And in football, you know, you have to have those 2 or 3 big plays a game, you know, going for you. You know, and the things that have happened to Marcus as far as fumbling, you know, those are things that just happen. Yeah. You know, I don't think it's something that you know, you carry with you all the time. I just think it just happens.
There's some theories that say Al Davis has lost his edge, largely because of all the court proceedings, the trials, this last one with Gene Klein, where Klein wins the suit, you know, charging that Al Davis caused him to have the heart attack, that because of it, Al just can't concentrate on football personnel like he used to.
I think you're right. You know, I think that's one of the big factors with him in that organization. You know, with all the trial things that he's had to go through and the controversial things, I think it's really taken away from his dedication to the organization. I don't mean 100%, but not the way he would want it to be, you know, because I don't think you're going to meet too many people in sports that are dedicated 24 hours around the clock.
When I talked to a number of Raiders over the years, not just the contemporary Raiders, but the Raiders of 10, 12 years ago, they always spoke in glowing terms of Al Davis as being a player's owner. He let you go in '78 when you still had enough left. Can you say in glowing terms that he was your kind of owner, or did you feel bitterness at the end?
Oh, no, you know, for all the things that, you know, he and I had gone through for 14 years, you know, over contracts or playing or what you're doing, what actually you're doing out on the field and how you're playing. You know, he's done a lot of things for me. You know, I think that you hit it right on the head. You know, he does get involved with the players, you know, and he is concerned. And the bottom line is winning, you know, and he's concerned about winning. And if you're not going to go out there with the attitude of winning, then you don't belong in that organization.
The Snake, your best buddy, Kenny Stabler, who we'll hear from a little bit later in the next segment, said of Al Davis and his acrimony and his bitterness with Al Davis, "I would like to bury the hatchet between his shoulder blades if I could." He said he's sorry he said that after he said it, but that he was very, very angry at what Al Davis did to him, that he wasn't necessarily his friend in the end. And when it came down to money before personnel, he'd always make the money decision.
Well, I think that at that point in Kenny's position at that point in his career, you know, Al is only going to make moves with people or do something with people if it's to better the club, you know. And I think that whatever went on between he and Kenny, I really don't know. I was gone at the time.
That's right. He made the move on you.
Yeah, he made the move on me earlier. But you know, it's from a business standpoint all the time, thinking business-wise, you know, completely all the time.
And before we go to the break, there were maybe another bit of speculation regarding moves that Al could have made. Why didn't Al make the Jim Everett move for the Raiders? Why didn't Al make a move to get Doug Williams to quarterback the Raiders? All of these viewed as mistakes that Al Davis made. You agree with that?
Well, I think, you know, that goes back to what we were saying a few minutes ago. You know, the trial, the controversy, the NFL trial, the Klein trial, you know, it's all taken away over the last couple of years, you know, and if you don't have a handle on those type of things, you know, 24 hours a day, you know, and you leave things up to everybody else to make decisions for you, where Al's always been the type of person to make that final decision no matter what it was. You know, you have a tendency to sort of believe other people, you know, and go with their, you know, with their attitude about saying, well, this guy can help our team or this and that. And it, you know, a lot of things may have come out wrong, you know, that he probably wishes that he had, you know, paid more attention to it.
He is the Raiders' all-time leading receiver in yardage and catches. He is Fred Biletnikoff. He's our guest on SportsLook. We'll come back and talk about his relationship with the Snake, Ken Stabler, after this.
The time, right now. The place, your Mazda dealers. The event, Goodbye 86. We're saying goodbye with good buys on all our 87s, 323s, 626s, even our X7s. And right now, special factory cash incentives can save you hundreds on 87 B2000 trucks. Buy now, while sales tax is still deductible. But hurry, the end is almost here. Visit your Mazda dealer for a good buy now. Don't let time run out.
No battery has the energy to outrun the Energizer, even in a toy robot.
Energizer, it's to run, 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 it's to run, run. The Energizer, it's to run, 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 it's to run, run.
No battery outruns the Energizer.
Come on, Tara, let's go.
All winter long, live life on the edge when ESPN delivers World Cup skiing like you've never seen it before. 16 events, including the 1987 World Championships, America's Downhill from Aspen, and the famous Hahnenkamm provide non-stop thrills. The most prestigious events from the most impressive resorts. There's excitement at every turn, and you won't miss a moment. Your season pass to the World Cup Tour is right here on ESPN.
Most people come to Jamaica for all this, the sun, sea, and natural wonders. But not these people. They're the LPGA and Senior PGA's brightest stars. And they're planning to come to Jamaica once again for all this, Mazda Champions, and the largest first prize in pro golf, $500,000, all for the winning pair to share. So check local listings December 20th and 21st for the Mazda Champions. After all, you wouldn't want to miss all this.
For the last couple of years, Fred Biletnikoff was coaching in the United States Football League. Unfortunately, right now he's at liberty in the coaching profession. He'd like to get back as a professional coach, perhaps in the NFL. He's our guest on SportsLook. We had the Snake, your buddy, Ken Stabler, on the show, promoting his book, which incidentally did very, very well this year, talking about you and your idiosyncrasies, your quirks and superstitions before a game. I want you to listen to it. Here's Ken Stabler on Fred Biletnikoff. Here it is.
And watch Freddie put on his uniform was a real experience. He'd try on about 3 different types of shoes, and he'd go from Adidas to Nike to whatever, 3 different shoes, take a pair of scissors and cut all the small threads off of his uniform, get his socks just right, get everything just right. Then he would put a quarter in his left shoe and a dime in his right shoe, and he would tape a crucifix under his shoulder pads, and he'd get everything just like he wanted, looking good, and get ready for the game. And Pete Banaszak and I would walk by and we'd say, "Freddie, your uniform looks like hell." And then he'd go through the whole ritual all over again, cutting it and cutting it and cutting the whole thing from top to bottom.
How much stickum would he put on his shoes?
Oh, Freddie after one play looked like he'd been playing for a month. He would tape his forearms from here to here, smear the stickum, a spray bomb. He would spray that all over him. And after the first pass, he looked like he walked out of a halfway house.
Why would you do that? Was that insecurity with all those quirks?
You know, I think it was. You know, you go and do things for psychological reasons to feel more comfortable, and I think that was basically it. Because, you know, during the week in practice, I never really did that. You know, had any stickum or spray, any of that. But when I went to that stadium in the morning to play, I mean, I would get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, 8:45 in the morning. Never had to go out for a pregame warm until like 10 after 12. And so I'd be there a good 3 hours. I'd lay out all my things and the towels and make sure my shoes were all cleaned, all that type of thing. And, you know, I just had to feel comfortable.
Lack of talent really had nothing to do with it, I don't think. I mean, Snake said this in the book about your ability, and it was a special kind of ability, that Fred Biletnikoff didn't have a step to lose. He never had any speed, but he got open on slick, not speed. He was a great mechanic. He ran the best sideline and comeback routes on the team. In addition, Freddie and I read each other like the Corsican brothers. It was like money in the bank to have a mental telepathy with a clutch receiver like Fred Biletnikoff. What was he like for you, for your advantage?
Oh, Kenny, you know, for as long as I live, Kenny will always be a person I always love very dearly. I think he was probably the best quarterback that played football from the standpoint that he knew the people that he was playing with out on the field and how to use them. The little thing that we had going as far as passing and the completions, I took time to understand what that quarterback had to do when he got the snap of the ball and what the things that were happening to him and the situations and the type of thinking he was going through as far as where we were on the field, you know, how much yardage we needed for a first down and that type of thing. And I took the time to learn that and look at it from the quarterback standpoint.
I want to take just a roster, look back at some of the great players. Just give me maybe 10, 15-second observations. Let's start with one of the big hitters of all time, Jack Tatum.
Oh, Jack, he was just he was the ultimate in a safety that you would have to try to work around him if you were an offensive team. I mean, Jack was a terrific ball player, outstanding.
Did the game eat up John Madden as a coach?
Oh, I think so. I think that you know, the more you win, it doesn't get any easier. The more you win, the pressure just keeps mounting and mounting much more than that. And I think that it probably did get to him, you know, with his ulcer and he just got physically worn down.
There were some people who called Ted Hendricks a head case. This was a brilliant guy, though, intelligent guy, but a little nuts, a little off center.
Ted, I think Ted was always pushing to see how far he could get away with things.
Look at that hat he's wearing now.
You know, and then like on a Monday night game, he had the mask on one year and that type of thing, you know. So I think he was the type of guy that would, you know, always pushing to see how far he could go. And his sense of humor was so dry. I mean, you probably have to, you know, go to Arizona to find him.
And then there was another guy whose sense of humor may have been, to use Don Shula's expression, as subtle as a punch in the nose, like John Matuzak. This guy was wild, loud, you name it. He had it, right?
John, you know, you look at, if anybody gets the opportunity to come in contact with John, just physically, he scares the hell out of you, you know? I mean, he's just an intimidating force, you know, and he was a good ball player.
We're going to come back in just a few moments with Fred Biletnikoff. We'll explore the question of whether a Fred Biletnikoff these days would get that second look. Would there be a Fred Biletnikoff in the 80s and maybe 90s? We'll discuss it right after this.
At Dreisbach Cadillac Olds GMC in downtown South Bend, we find that many of our customers select our dealership on reputation and service after the sale. In short, our entire staff is always on hand to help in every possible way. You see, we believe that you buy our dealership and its reputation as well as our new or used cars and trucks. Why not make your next buying experience a pleasurable one at Dreisbach Cadillac Olds GMC in downtown South Bend.
I'm Chef Willie, and I want to welcome you to the new Chef Willie's restaurant in Elkhart. At Chef Willie's, you'll find the quality you'd expect from a gourmet restaurant, but you won't find the prices. Enjoy our complete breakfast or luncheon menus, or savor a night out with a specialty drink from our lounge, followed by a delicious entree like our hand-cut prime rib for just $7.95. That's Chef Willie's, quality food and drink in a pleasant dining atmosphere at 3 Points in Elkhart on US 20.
For Players Club International, Mr. Telly Savalas.
You know, I love the excitement in Atlantic City and Las Vegas, and okay, I get VIP treatment. Now, you too can get VIP treatment and big savings just by carrying the Players Club Go card. You too can save 25 to 60% off rooms, 25 to 50% off top-name entertainment, always 25% off food and beverages. Look, you can stay at some of the finest resorts in the world's most exciting vacation cities. Hey, no strings attached to get the club's benefits. You may save more than the cost of your membership the very first time you use your Players Club Go card. After that, it's bonus time, baby. You listen to Telly? Call Players Club today.
Call me now. I'll send you all the information you need about Players Club. And if you join now, you'll receive this handsome travel wallet absolutely free.
Call 1-800-544-1000 now. That's 1-800-544-1000.
Guests on SportsLook receive compact binoculars from Bosch & Lomb, one of the first names in sports optics. Waterproof, fog-proof, and center focus. They get you close to the action. Furnished by Bushnell.
He was the Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 11. Fred Biletnikoff was. He's our guest on SportsLook. And, Fred, I think you remember the one thing about Super Bowl 11 was the domination by the Raiders' offensive line over the Minnesota Vikings. They're just much bigger than the Vikings were. There's a great story that Howie Long told us on our program about facing Art Shell. When he thought he was going to face Lindsey Mason in practice, he had to face Art Shell. I want you to listen. This is a great story from Howie Long of the Raiders.
I'm sizing it up, and Art Shell walks up to the line. This guy is a behemoth, man. I mean, he's a big man, big man. He steps up to the line, and I figured, you know, Dave Browning's going against him. He says, and Earl Leggett, the defensive line coach, says, Howie, step in here. And my attention went from Lindsey Mason to, like, you weren't paying attention in the classroom, like, what?
Yeah, right.
The big guy? You want me in there? I go in there against Art Shell. The first time he hit me, he comes off and he delivers a blow with his helmet and his fist. He hit me. I turned my head sideways to absorb the shock of his blow. He split me here and gave me a black eye in training camp, and also knocked the wind out of me with the double fist thrust. You know, you mentioned Bob Brown. I guess he had initiated it, but I think Art Shell had perfected it.
What would you liken that hit to anything else you've ever experienced?
I have a scar on my forehead here. I went through the windshield back in '68. I think that would probably be that's the only time I've ever been knocked. I've been hit with a bat in the forehead. I've been hit with a lot of things. I won't really get into it, but I've never been brought to my knees like that.
These were big boys on your offensive line, right?
Huge, huge. Art, he had that left side of that offensive line. You know, when Art hit people, or when Art stuck those hands out there and hit people in the chest or wherever, he stopped them dead in their tracks. Art was we used to play basketball in the off season, and as big as Art is, which I'm sure you've seen and everybody else seen. We were going down on a fast break one time, and he got up in the air and got about that far above the rim and dunked it. With like Snake, and we're just looking. Wait a minute. I mean, he played basketball like he did football. I mean, he was very, very aggressive. And had a lot of finesse. And Art was a very intelligent player. I mean, he knew who he could stop dead in their tracks all the time.
You struck fear in the hearts of defensive backs, but for different reasons. Could a Fred Biletnikoff today, with the fact that he was slow of foot, didn't necessarily have all of the you know, the computer statistics, cut it in the NFL scouting system right now, or is that era pretty much come and gone?
I don't know. You know, I think it's gone. You know, I don't know if coaches are, you know, having trouble or whatever, you know, finding people like that. But I think every team in the NFL, if you look at them, doesn't really have that possession receiver and doesn't really take the pride. And I mean, third down is always a problem, no matter what team you're with. But I think that it takes a special type of team and a special type of person to know what third down means to a team out on the field.
You know, Kenny had raised the question in his book, and I'll ask it of you. With all your numbers, 9,000 yards and all those catches and 73 touchdowns, why aren't you in the Hall of Fame? Oh, really?
I don't know. I don't know. You know, I think, I don't know. I think there should be a lot of people that maybe the same as I am, you know, should be in there before me or should have been in there before a lot of these people have gone in.
Before we say goodbye, there's one story I want you to quickly recount, and that was after Super Bowl 11 was over and you were named the MVP and the Raiders had won it for the first time. The moment you and Freddie Jr., your 10-year-old at the time, embraced, and you both started crying like babies. It was such a great moment.
You know, Freddie is, you know, like every father, you know, Freddie's special, very, very special, and he was brought up around a football team and around a lot of famous football players, and he knew what I had to go through and what I had to play, and he knew the type of position I was always in, you know, struggling along, being that type of possession receiver and working hard. And it was like the culmination of my whole career, and he was there to share it with me. You know, it wasn't Saturday afternoon at a practice before the game Sunday. This was after one of the biggest events in sports history that, you know, that his dad got Most Valuable Player.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as personal, but I think we all shared it with you, Freddie.
Well, thank you
Thanks
very
for all
much,
the great years and the great Raider years, too.
Thank you.
We'll come back just a few moments. Ernie Kaufman joins us. We'll get the picks of the week right after this.
The time right now. The place, your Mazda dealers. The event, Goodbye 86. We're saying goodbye with good buys on all our 87s, 323s, 626s, even our X7s. And right now, special factory cash incentives can save you hundreds on 87 B2000 trucks. Buy now, while sales tax is still deductible. But hurry, the end is almost here. Visit your Mazda dealer for a good buy now. Don't let time run out.
Load up with the legend, Winchester.
Master,
Quiet, I'm calculating.
isn't it dark in there?
Not for my new Anilite solar calculator from Texas Instruments.
You have a Texas instrument?
Texas Instruments Anilite calculator. Unlike other solar calculators, it works in almost...
Any light.
Good and feel.
The new line of Anilite solar calculators from Texas Instruments.
Imagine the Prince of Darkness with a solar calculator.
The time right now. The event, Goodbye 86. The offer, Mazda's SE5 plus 5. It's the $69.95 SE5 plus $650 worth of extras at no extra charge from Mazda. You get a bed liner, mudguard, sliding rear window, floor mats, even an AM/FM stereo. A $650 value at no extra charge. See your Mazda dealer for an SE5 plus 5 now. But hurry, the end is almost here. Don't let time run out.
Yes, he is smoking his victory cigar, ladies and gentlemen. Ernie Kaufman, 3 for 4 last week and way, way up on the year. And he's in a good mood, and he's in a groove, so pay attention. The picks of the week, let's start with the college game, the only college game, the Independence Bowl. Texas Tech, you say, +3 in Shreveport against Mississippi.
With the bowl games, Roy, we like to compare the like opponents that both teams had during the course of the season. Both these teams, excuse me, played Arkansas. Texas Tech whipped Arkansas 21-0. Mississippi lost to them 17-7. I say Texas Tech is the better team, and they're getting points.
Big game this week in the NFL, and there are many of them. Denver Plus 3.5 going up against Seattle. In Seattle, the Seahawks definitely need to win that game.
NFL handicapping system tells us that if a team has a better one-loss record and they're an underdog, they'll cover the point spread 64% of the time. That's the case with Denver at Seattle.
Could Denver win that game outright? You think they will?
I think they will.
Okay. The over-under, the total points scored, under 47.5 points. This is the Monday night game between the Pats and the Dolphins in Miami. That should be a high-scoring affair. Why are you saying under 47.5?
Whenever a team plays a series of non-divisional games and comes into a divisional game, they go under in excess of 80% of the time.
Wow.
Both of these teams are in that situation. 47.5 is an enormously high number. It looks like a very good under. I think you can even put the Hanukkah gelt on that one.
Okay. Quick picks. These are not necessarily his picks of the week, but just observations. Rams 49ers for the NFC West at stake.
Same system that applied to Denver applies to the Rams. They get a better record and they're getting points.
So you like the Rams?
Like the Rams plus the 5 points.
Pittsburgh hosting KC.
Too tough to call. There's too many things that can happen there, too. If Seattle wins, I believe Casey's out for the season, too, so you won't know really what's going on.
Cincinnati hosting the Jets?
The Jets don't have to win this game, so they can still be flat. They can lose the game and still make the playoffs. I'd look to Cincy or stay away from it.
Okay, Ernie, thanks a lot for those picks and insights. We'll see you next week. We'll tell you about tomorrow's show right after this.
Well, somebody's happy to be going to work.
I love my...
Phil Mayer skis K2. Steve Mayer skis K2. So does Bob, Casey, Karen, Fred, Lola, Hans, Tim, Alice, Walter, Sam. More skiers put their name on K2 than any American ski in the world. James, Carol, Chris, Mike. K2, America's top performers.
Come out of the dark ages into the light.